You know, China is dealing with the kind of chaos that it is because they didn't have these kind of COVID waves when countries like the United States, countries in Europe and India were suffering, and therefore their population doesn't have immunity. But the big fear is that there could be a mutation from the current round of infections which could spread to countries across the world. How real is that fear, Dr. Subramanian Swaminathan, that somewhere in the mainland of China, because of the fact that elderly aren't vaccinated, because the population isn't immune, that there can be a mutation which could then become the world's migraine in the new year?
That's exactly the big concern. So while we have a lot of answers on why things are happening in China and why we seem to be very sheltered, the big unknown is the risk of mutation. And let's remember that the number of mutants that arise is directly proportional to the mass of mutating virus. And given that there is active replication in so much of the population, and the biomass is actually very, very high, there's going to be multiple mutants that come out of it. Remember, as mutants come out, 99.99% or so will not be of any consequence to us. Maybe 1 in 10,000 or 1 in less than that is going to be of consequence. But given that, the number of mutations are going to be possibly in the millions, this could be a concern for us, especially if they have the immunological breakthrough that Omicron had, and at the same time they managed to retain some virulence and severity genes that were associated with some of the earlier mutants. So I think that is going to be a concern. That's why we need to be monitoring the situation very, very carefully. And given that China has been traditionally very cagey about their data, it's going to remain a challenge. And I think we need to be very, very careful. And this is where the international community needs to work together in pooling the data together so that we don't have nasty surprises.
No, but which is also why, Ajay Kumar, that some precaution isn't a bad idea. So when the Modi government says follow some protocols at mass gatherings, and you've run a hospital chain, this is, if you leave the politics aside, this is not unwise, unscientific advice. This is good advice which you could possibly, as model citizens, take in your stride, ignore the fact that it's coming from your opponents and say, let's do the right thing.
So Rahul, point taken. The question again is, first of all, whenever you have a public health challenges, and the previous two scholarly speakers before that, and even Zafar is a scholarly gentleman, I would like to include, but medically well-informed people were on the panel. The issue is, what is the first priority? The first priority, even if you look at it from a medical perspective, is to get the booster system in place, all right? The second issue is, I'm telling you, we will follow every protocol. The Bharat Jodo Yatra will not violate anything based on the protocol. I think we are ready to set up. My question to this government, and you will also agree with it, is it's vicious when you use such double standards. As political people, Zafar, I would request them, please use the same standards across. And we will follow it. I think we need to be careful. We take that matter as a very responsible
but
party.
This is a good point. That why is that letter written only to the Bharat Jodo Yatra? You haven't told your government in Madhya Pradesh, your government in Karnataka, or anywhere else to stop political gatherings. They are going on business as usual, and you somehow seem to be picking on that one yatra which is being run by your principal opponent.
No, Rahul, you have to understand that this issue was discussed, it has been discussed on the floor of the parliament. The health minister has apprised the members and also sensitized them, and because they are people's representative. Secondly, the Honorable Prime Minister also had a long discussion with the Chief Ministers and other important dignitaries. Why? Because they want to sensitize and make them accountable and responsible both. Third thing which is important, that you are saying why it has been written to Rahul Gandhiji. It is not only to Rahul Gandhiji, this has been sensitized to everyone, but he happens to be from the principal opposition party, and he is leading a Bharat Jodo Yatra where people from different parts of India are joining him. They are at risk, and it is the responsibility of the government to at least sensitize him. We didn't want him to suspend it, nor that we are interested in him suspending, because any such yatra is helping us, not him. And it is so evident from the fact that the outcome in Gujarat, we have won 156 out of 182. That only suggests that this kind of yatra will only help Bharatiya Janata Party and not Congress Party. Yet, We are a sincere, sensitive government. We are a sensible government, and we are very sincere about the people of this great country.